Okay, we have our Thursday mastermind call. Today we have a special guest. Shaun's joining us from New Orleans. What do they call that? NOLA?
NOLA, that's right.
I love it. I love it. Shaun, I'm so excited that you've joined us today. We're going to spend some time going over different things. Tell us a little bit about your story. Give us the Reader's Digest version of Shaun.
Well, I'm 58 years old from New Orleans, Louisiana. I've lived here since I was 2 years old. So basically I'm a native. And I was slow to get into the real estate business. I didn't get into the real estate business until I was 32 years old. I played around in the restaurant business a little bit. I had a restaurant and bar in Birmingham, Alabama. And I spent a lot of time as an undergraduate. That was awful fun. I came back to New Orleans and I started to acquire some properties and do some flipping, which was great, except I don't know how to change the light bulb very well. So during the course of the 3 years that I was doing that, and I made a little bit of money, I decided to get my real estate license. And I'm a little ADD, so it's the residential real estate business, I thought would be a good path because I thought that you'd do a deal and you'd move on. Shortly after I got into the residential real estate business, and when I mean shortly, I'm saying maybe within 2 or 3 weeks, I asked my broker at the time, he was a pretty large independent broker here in Louisiana, Bobby Merrick. I don't know, Neil, if you know Bobby Merrick with Ladder and Bloom.
No.
But Bobby said, I said, this is crazy. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, your manager wants me to sit at a desk and wait for the phone to ring. They called it desk duty, I guess, back in the day. I don't know if anybody still does that. He said, I want you to, they want me to sit and wait for the phone to ring and pick up and you can answer it. Perhaps you can get business that way. So I went to my broker after about 2 weeks and I said, this is absolutely insane. There's got to be a better way. And he gave me Mike Ferry's phone number, name and phone number. And so I immediately joined coaching. Actually, I went out to California. I want to say San Diego. And I did a product. It was called at the time Productivity School. And Matt did it. Matt Ferry did it.
Right.
And it was powerful. And I signed up on the spot. And I'll never forget. I mean, after every break, I call home and I call my wife. This is going to change our life. This is going to change our life. And so I came back and I started to learn the scripts and try to set a schedule and do all the things that, of course, that Mike teaches us. And until for about 10 years, I was doing well. I was probably top 5 in the New Orleans market. It's a small market. New Orleans is not as big as people presume it is. It's just not a very big town. I was top 5 and I was pretty complacent. I'd do $25 million a year and thought I was great. I then had an opportunity to, with a friend of mine, to go to Costa Rica. And this was in 2000, this was after Katrina. And go to Costa Rica and do a development there. And I did that. And at the time, I had 3 assistants in New Orleans. And I kind of left the business with them. Well, immediately when I left the business, it hung on for another year or 2 with past clients calling in. But it pretty much went to nothing because, of course, they weren't doing what we're all taught to do. And that's prospect. Basically our job, as everybody knows, is to prospect, is to set appointments, is to pre-qualify, go on the appointments and sign contracts. That's all our job is. That's the way I look at this today. That's what our job is. And so I went to Costa Rica. It was a great experience for my wife and my 2 infants at the time. They learned a second language and that was great. I came back much poorer than I went there. And when I got back in 2011, I basically started from scratch again and had to build up my whole business again. And I've been doing that for the last 9 years. This year, I'm got my Mike Ferry numbers and my analyzer in front of me. I'm on track for 76 million. about 162 deals is what I'm on track for right now. And it's all been, and I re-signed up for coaching. I was with Mike before I left for Costa Rica. Obviously, I wasn't doing that, and you can't prospect in Costa Rica, by the way. There are no municipal addresses. It's 50 meters from the orange church, to the left. But anyway, so I got back into coaching, and at first I didn't sign up with Mike. I went to a friend of mine that had been a coach, Monica Reynolds, with Mike for a long, long time.
Sure, I know Monica.
I got to the point where I said, okay, we're doing well, but I just need to put some systems in place. So I went to Monica and I said, can you help me for a couple months? We did that for 2 or 3 months. We put some systems in place, and then I immediately said, okay, I need the accountability. I need Mike again. And I have to tell you guys, and I think I know Neil's been with Mike forever and ever, and I'm assuming a lot of you guys are as well. It's just so powerful. I'm a big believer in trying to keep your mind clear and understand your objectives and your goals and how you're going to get there. It's a beautiful thing when it happens. It's just amazing when you put something down on paper, whether it's a daily schedule or a weekly goal or a monthly, and you achieve them. It's so amazing. And so that's what we did. And I've got a great coach right now. And I've been back with Mike, I guess, for about, I'm guessing we're going on 6 or 7 months. And everything seems to be clicking pretty well. And something came up with my coach. Ira is my coach, Neil, by the way.
Right.
Ira Nadich. So something came up, and we realized that we really didn't have a contact management system. I know how crazy that sounds. We'll do 160, 170 deals this. I'll do 160, 170 deals this year, and about 75 million. And I didn't really have a contact management system. I knew how, and I had the way that we did it was I had a contact management system that wasn't really real estate related. So I could send out a monthly newsletter. I could do all that. My prospecting, just to let everybody know, was with, for a long time, and I'm still a client, was with Vulcan 7. About 2.5 months ago, me being the genius, this isn't jest, I'm saying this as jest because I am no genius. I was talked into going to FUB. Y'all know Follow Up Boss? Are anybody familiar with Follow Up Boss? So I was talked into doing that. So I'm still prospecting out through Vulcan. We're prospecting expireds and FSBOs, and everything else we're doing through FUB. It's just to me, it's the future, and it's a really good way where you can put in action plans and everything you do through either your phone or your computer is all recorded. You can see all the touches. So, of course, we're only about halfway through that. It's going to probably take a half a year to really be able to take advantage of that. But it's something that me and actually a few of the people in my mastermind group that I mentioned that are Mike Ferry guys and all big producers do as well. So that's where we are today. I'm feeling pretty good. We just did goals for 2021. I just did goals for myself for 2021, and we're going to try to get to 200 sales next year, and we're going to try to do $2 million. I'm going to try and do $2 million of commissions coming in.
I love it. And in New Orleans, that goes a long way, doesn't it?
In New Orleans, it goes a long way.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. Shaun, so take us back a little bit. You started from scratch in 2011. You had to redo this. It had to weigh on your head because you'd already done this before. You'd already made the calls. You already built the business, etc. The whole thing kind of falls apart. Tell me the mental side of this that you could, get up every morning and do your job. Go back to that beginning for us.
Well, it was I would say, great question. 2 things I would say. I came back from Costa Rica $1.8 million in debt.
I'm sorry, how much?
$1.8 million in debt.
Okay.
I
You
had two
didn't go
things.
there in debt, right?
I did not go there in debt. I lost probably a total of about $3.5 million in Costa Rica, but in debt that I owed the banks when I came back, 1.8 million.
Wow.
I had two things on my mind. Neil. I know I wasn't going to sit. I know I wasn't going to lay down. I knew I could. I knew that I would pay this back. I wasn't going to go look for any help. I was going to do it on my own. I had to. That was what I had to do. So that was a huge driving force. The second driving force is I don't like to lose. I knew when I came back, I spoke to my broker who I was with when I left. And I said, look, I'm going to be top 2 or 3 in the state of Louisiana in the next 12 to 18 months. I'm doing what really nobody in Louisiana does because there are not many people to prospect in New Orleans. It's crazy to me. I'm shooting fish in a barrel down here, guys, if anybody wants to move down. So I knew that I could get on the phone and I could immediately start getting listings, and I did that. And so when I came back, the mindset was, okay, Shaun, when we came back, my wife and my children at the time were, I want to say maybe 11 and 9. And I said, look, we're going to do what we're going to do. The first 6 months that we lived here, my wife and I had 1 car, not 2. We rented a place for little money. And that's what we did. We did what we had to do. In fact, my wife wasn't in real estate. She was a homemaker. Before we moved back, knowing we were moving back to New Orleans, she online, she got her real estate license. And so she came to work with me. It was me and her at first because we knew we both had to do this. So we just made it work. We set goals. Thank God I had all the training for the years before that with Mike because I knew what to say already. I knew the scripts. I had all my script books. I knew that at that point, at December 1st, I'd do my goals. Now we do them November 1st because, of course, it's 14 months, right? We all know that. So that's what my mindset was when I came back. It was to pay off my debt, and I now owe less than I'm right at about $380,000 in debt from those 9 years. So it's a source of pride for me. It'll be gone in the next 2 years, year and a half, 2 years, and then the second thing was I don't want anybody in New Orleans to sell more residential real estate than I do, and they don't and they won't, and that's my competitiveness, if you will.
It kind of sounds like attitude, approach, and expectation, doesn't it?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Exactly. So, okay. So you started building the business. You were making phone calls or door knocking?
When I got back, I quickly learned about Vulcan 7, and I had known Ren from Mike Ferry Coaching previously. Ren Jones, if anybody use Vulcan. So I knew that I had an advantage there. It was going to be when I left, I was literally had the Rolodex, and I was dialing. And now, of course, we've got the tools and technology has helped us out so much. And so immediately I started taking advantage of that. It was not door knocking. It was on the phone. It was on the phone. And in my database, I still had a bunch of past clients. It was bastardized a little bit, but I able to have enough that I could say, okay, let's start working with past clients, sphere of influence, expireds, and FISBOs. And that's what I hit. And I hit it hard.
So, Shaun, let me ask you a question. If we're not $1.8 million in debt, losing over $3 million, and we don't have a goal to be number 1 in the state of whatever, California, I mean, where do I reach down on a daily basis? Give me some ideas on how to get me, get our team to their next level. Any thoughts on this?
So I think that there has to be a purpose in everybody's plan. And I think I want to say a few days ago, Mike sent out some quotes, I think it was maybe Jim Rowe. I'm not sure who it was, but it said, if you don't have a plan for something along these lines, I'm going to screw this up a little bit. But if you don't have a plan for yourself, you're lost or something. If you're waiting for somebody else's plan for you, they don't have what you have in mind. So, the question is, what do you want it to be? Where do you want to be? I've seen it too many times. I've seen in my market in New Orleans, somebody that didn't really have any skill set, I thought was rather awkward, kind of funny looking to me. And I've seen them listen to me and go out and is crushing it right now. I don't know, they're their average sales price, I think, is like 150,000. The guy's going to sell 100 homes this year in his third year. He's never been in coaching. I'm going to get him in coaching, but he's just kind of came to me, and several people do come to me in New Orleans and say, can I watch the prospect? But I think that you have to have something out there, whether it's family, whether it's, whatever your dreams are, you have to have, that makes life fun. I mean, you wake up in the morning, it's so much easier to wake up in the morning and say, let's kick butt. Let's have fun doing this, and let's go make something happen. As everybody knows, somebody in your market's looking to buy or sell a house today. How do you find them? It's like a game. And I treat this as a game too, by the way, guys. I look at this as a game. I want a scorecard, and that's productivity. That's where you stack up against your peers. And there's got to be something in your pit of your stomach that says, I want to accomplish this because of this, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. Absolutely. So let's fast forward a little bit from those days. And what was your goal in January of 2020?
Great question. So our goal was 115, I think it was 115 transactions, and the income was $1 million. I want to say it was $1.3 million. My coach and I we readjusted our goals, I'm going to say in June or July, because we were blowing right through them. COVID, as horrible as this has been, COVID cranked my business up, just like Hurricane Katrina did when it hit New Orleans in 2005. My business exploded both times.
Interesting.
Exploded.
Okay. So
it was amazing, and that was all prospecting. It was obviously it was prospecting. We got on the phones, and while everybody else was, I guess, I mean, I would tell people when I was prospecting, oh yeah, we did 24 transactions in April. We put 24 properties under contract in April at the kind of really the beginning of COVID. And it was amazing. And I would tell people on the phone, well, what's your competition doing? And I think they were cowering. I think they were sitting in the corner, not knowing what to do, instead of waking up and doing our jobs. And I still think today, I don't know what it's like in California. New Orleans is still kind of shut down. I mean, we've got a mayor that is kind of a little nervioso, if you will. And so I think a lot of agents, without any focus, without any coaching, without any mentorship or people there to guide you, I think that they're still afraid. And so the opportunity today is huge, I think. But COVID, for my business, we had to readjust my goals because COVID was so huge for us. It increased my business tremendously. And just like Hurricane Katrina increased my business tremendously.
So Shaun, I hear this across the country in almost every single neighborhood of anyone we've ever interviewed, top agents like yourself, in every single case except one, and that was actually Michael in Hoboken. Hoboken got hit really hard because New York City got hit hard. But other than that, everybody's got the same story. But let me, and everyone has exactly from this perspective, is in their marketplace, they took market share from people from doing what you're doing. That's the message we put across to our people as they are finishing the year, running through the finish line, because most of our competitors are asleep right now. You know, when we would call expireds 2 months ago, there would be a lot of competition. When you call expireds today, there's not as much competition. In fact, Tess was telling me earlier today that she ended up picking up 2 appointments from expireds today, which is not generally what she's able to do. Here's my question, Shaun. What can we help tell our people who are already hardworking and focused to double down, triple down between now and the end of the year? Because the opportunity's there. You're living it right now.
There's no doubt about it, guys. I mean, you know, if you think about it, I'm sure everybody on this Zoom call has heard, oh, you know, people say, oh, selling a home over the holidays is, you know, it's never really great time to sell a home the holidays. One thing I do is I track my numbers pretty close, and we never see a dip in December. What we do know for a fact is that, as Neil suggested, and as Mike has said for years and years, a lot of agents aren't going to work at that time. You've got a golden opportunity to, if you're used to making, you know, 20 contacts a day, your opportunity to set appointments is going to be higher from now until the end of the year. There's no question about that. And remember, all those agents that make their New Year's resolutions, oh, I'm going to start prospecting this year. Those first 2 months of January are a little crowded. Oh, you're the 23rd person I've heard of. You know, so these next 2 months are so critical in establishing your 2021. Everybody understands that, I'm sure. It's just critical to build up that momentum and get geared up for 2021.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
I'd say really focus on having your schedule, really stay focused on that early morning schedule and your prospecting time. If you do that between now and the end of the year, there's no way that it can't pay dividends. It can't put money. It will absolutely put money in your pocket.
It's good advice. Thank you. So you talked about not having a CRM up until recently. So you had an Excel spreadsheet or your cell phone? How did it work?
Yeah. So we had a CRM. The only thing we were using that CRM for was putting people that we came in contact with or had past clients, sphere of influence. We had them in a database, and we have, you know, right now today, I'm going to guess that we probably have 27,000 people in it. The only thing I was doing with that was using it to send a monthly newsletter. It wasn't working for me the way, I mean, this is kind of embarrassing, but, you know, Vulcan 7 was kind of my contact management system, which is embarrassing. I hate to say it, but it was. So that, you know, that, and 27,000 people, let's face it, if I need to talk to past clients, you know, on the phone for 2 or 3 minutes, 4 times a year, if I need to do expireds and FSBOs, even with one of my people that works for me prospecting full time as well, we're not making 112,000 calls a year. We can get to about 35,000 calls a year, my group, but we're not getting there. So what I'm trying to do with my database is we started separating them and really focusing on the ones that we know. If somebody says, oh, I'm thinking about selling my house, that my name is going to roll off their lips. So we're trying to get down to about 5. We're not down to. We'll continue to touch those people, but we're trying to get down to about 5,000 people where we know that if real estate comes up, the subject of real estate comes up, they're going to be singing our praises, saying, you got to call this guy. You've got to talk to this guy. So that's what we're trying to do with our database right now, Neil.
Got it. Shaun, let's shift gears slightly for a second and go back to 11 years ago when you first started. Put your head there, because our agents don't have, $1.5 million, and they can't flood the market with that kind of stuff. But you didn't have any money at that time, correct?
No.
Okay. So all you had was a telephone and a Rolodex, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
And you didn't have a dialer. Didn't have a dialer.
And
it was a push button phone, right?
Right. It was a push button phone.
Right. Okay. So the picture is that you've got your head down and you're making calls and talking to people and working on leads. That's your focus, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
How many calls a day did you make then?
Back when I first came back from Costa Rica, I'm going to guess that I probably spoke to somewhere between 50 and 70 people a day. A lot.
70, yeah. And then you did that 5 days a week, 7 days?
I did that 5 days a week. In fact, I would try to set appointments, like listing appointments, on weekends. And another thing, when I moved back, nobody in New Orleans does buyer brokers. Nobody has a buyer come in and say, okay, interview, you pre-qualify them, interview them, tell them exactly what we do that traditional agents don't do and nobody else will do for them. And I made, from the day that we got back, I made anybody that we worked with, buyer wise, had to sign a buyer broker. I didn't have time to work with a buyer for 2 months and then call them on a Monday and they say, oh, I drove by this open house, we went in and we ended up buying it, Shaun. Thanks for your help. I wasn't going to play that game. Mike Ferry kept ringing in my ears when I came back. And so it was pretty intense, Neil. It was pretty, I would want to set appointments late in the afternoon or night so that I could get all my calls in. And even on Saturday and Sundays, I don't mind meeting people on Saturday and Sundays. And that's still to this day, I don't mind meeting people on Saturday and Sundays.
Got it.
My prospecting is changed a little bit because I've got 5 people that work for me. And starting November 1st, this is after talking with my coach. Again, I've only been back in coaching for six or 7 months. But starting November 1st, starting Monday, which was the 2nd, I think, we had a big meeting with our group because it was me and one of my other people that works for me. She's really good on the phone. She and I were the only ones calling, with the exception of some guy that I was paying $30,000 a year to call all our just listed calls. This guy, so the just listed calls, we still call those to this day. It's a huge hook for me. I think I'm the only one in this market. When we go in on a listing appointment, we tell them what we do that's so different than traditional agents. We actually make just listed calls, and I can afford now to pay this guy. This guy's probably bringing in, I'm going to guess, 12 to 15, maybe even a little more than that, new people every week into our database. Hey, look, after you say, look, we just listed a house around the corner from you. It's 123 Adams Street. It's got 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and it's listed for $699,000. And I was wondering, who do you know that may want to move to the neighborhood? He'll go through all that. And then in the end, look, the market is changing rapidly. We'd love to keep you updated on what's in the market. What's your best email address? So he's pretty effective at doing that. I mean, he's doing it for probably 4 hours a day. It's hard to stay on the phone 8 hours. He's probably doing it for 4 hours a day, and then I've got him doing ministerial duties, I think they go. So I have him doing that.
Shaun, wait a second. Let me see if I understand this. So you have a guy with not a lot of skills, you're not paying a ton of money to. That's all he's doing is making 4 hours of phone calls a day, and he's bringing you 12 name and phone numbers of people that may or may not have some interest in buying or selling a house. Now, what percentage of those 12 people turn into a transaction in the next 30 to 60 days, do you think? Is it 1%, 10%, 3%? What do you think?
You know, it's a very low percentage.
Well,
It takes.
give me the.
I'm gonna guess maybe 1 or 2%.
Okay, so 1 or 2%. So if 12 people times 4, well, 12 times 8 is 96, right?
Right.
So you would bring 96 people in, and 1% is what? One person, one deal?
96. Yeah, one person is one deal, two deals. Look, there's a couple reasons why I do it. And there's a couple reasons why it's worth me paying this guy $30,000. Number one, I use it very effectively in listing appointments. I mean, you know, hey, you know, my competition is sending postcards. You've got a postcard. You look at the postcard, you're like, it doesn't engage your brain. We're actually making calls. We're calling your neighbors, letting them know and just asking them that simple question, who they may know that's looking to move in. So it's a really good hook for me in listing appointments because nobody else in my market does it, number one. And number two, you have to remember, what do they say? Everybody moves, the average person moves every 7 years or something like that. I believe the data says, you know, these people are continually getting hit from us every month with market information, the mass email that we send out. Does that make sense? So, you know, it may not bring, let's say my average commission check is right this year is right over $10,000. So it may only bring in $10,000 or $20,000, but I think it's doing more to get my name out there. And again, I don't do any advertising. I mean, zero advertising.
Shaun, I'm not thinking what you're doing is wrong. I'm kind of going from a different perspective. You're doing 2 deals a month from 4 hours of prospecting a day with somebody that doesn't have anywhere near your skills. Anyone on this Zoom call could do a similar thing and do 1 or 2 deals. In our market, 2 deals a month is $20,000 or $240,000 a year. That keeps people off of the welfare roll. Okay? Right?
Yes, it does.
My point is this idea, just this idea, talking and putting 12 people into the system on a monthly basis could get you 2 transactions a month. A lot of us don't need more than 2 deals a month. But if you do, you got another 4 hours a day.
Yep, that's right.
Shaun, great idea. I love it.
That's right. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get from doing what I'm supposed to do, Mike Ferry wise, from 80% to 90+%. You know, if I do that, I'm going to increase my income this year from $1.7 million to $2 million next year. And so, you know, that's where my head is right now. That's where
that increase pays off what you still owe from 2011. So that's a pretty powerful driving force for you. Congratulations.
Right. Well, it pays half of that. We got taxes, this thing called taxes out there, Neil.
Oh yeah, right. I forgot. Well, that's great. That's fantastic. Okay, questions for Shaun. We need to get him off of here in the next 5 or 6 minutes. Questions?
Guys, by the way, I've only done this one other time in front of other agents, and I have to tell you, this is a lot of fun. I hope y'all are having fun. I'm kind of a carefree kind of guy, and I told you before, I have ADD or whatever they call it. I like to play golf twice a week, and I fit that in with my buddies. And I like to fish once or twice a month, about an hour outside of New Orleans. But besides that, this thing, you got to make this fun, man. This has got to. I wake up and I enjoy. I like getting on the phone. I love getting on the phone. I know that's weird, but think about it like when you were younger and your parents said you got to take a bath. I don't want to take a bath. once you get in that bath water, you don't want to get out. So anyway, any questions, any thoughts?
So Shasha asked us in the chat room, Shaun, she says, what's your prospecting calling for
But
geo?
this prospecting guy, the guy that who prospecting.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry. What's his script, Shasha?
Okay, thank you, Neil. Thank you, Shaun. So
That
my
your-
question is, the guy that who prospecting for you, who did he call? The geo? What script does he use?
The guy that calls for me, I don't let him call past clients, sphere of influence. He's a guy right out of, left college. All he calls are just listed calls for me. What I'm calling, what Peggy and I, who's in, somebody that works for me, we're calling past clients, sphere of influence, for FSBOs and expires. And we don't get many FSBOs in New Orleans a day. I'm guessing we probably average 3 a day, and maybe FSBOs we average, maybe 2 or 3 a day. So those calls go quick. We can knock those out we can stay up on those. So it's primarily our past clients and sphere of influence, which, look, guys, in my opinion, Neil, I don't know what Neil's thoughts on this are, but these people know us and like us and know that we're very thorough, that we're going to protect their equity, and we're going to find the person that's going to pay them the most for the property. That's what we tell them, and that's what we do.
Good job, Shaun. Thank you. Other questions for Shaun?
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead,
Yvonne, how are you?
Hey, good. Thank you, Shaun. You recognize me. We're in the same group call with Ira. Anyway, we have same coach.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I could resonate with you. I was in Mike Ferry for a long time. Then I dropped out last year. I thought I knew it, but I know my production went down a lot. So I went back. I just got back with Ira.
Good for
So
you.
anyway, I really appreciate your ideas. You're full of energy and excitement and enthusiasm. Just on the call, I can imagine when you prospect, you love prospecting, you put in your excitement, energy, and enthusiasm, you get a lot of business. So I really like your idea. You paid this guy $30,000 to call just listed. Does he call also just sold?
No, he doesn't call just sold only because he doesn't have the time to do it. We make a lot of just listed calls. It's as I told y'all, it's a really good hook for us in my listing presentation. My listing presentation is canned. Everybody has Mike's script. We go over, Peggy and I, who also goes on listings for me, the other prospector. We at 7:15, 7:20, every 5 days a week, we're role playing. She does the script and then I do the script, and we do it over and over and over again. And so he has plenty of just listed calls to make with the listings that we bring in. Now they're selling quicker because there's not much inventory as everywhere in the country. Interest rates are low. Normally we'd carry 30, 40 listings at a time. I think I've only got maybe 20 or 21 actives because they're selling very quickly. And something that you said, Yvonne, about enthusiasm, it's Mike has said this, says this all the time, and in his CDs and all. Fake it if you don't have it. If you're not that type of person, it's okay. It's a role. This is a role. You can fake enthusiasm. I'm kind of enthusiastic anyway. I'm enthusiastic anyway, but I know a lot of people that are in Mike Ferry coaching around this country that really aren't that way. But they can fake it for 2 hours of prospecting every morning, and they can fake it when they go in for a listing appointment, which should take between 15 and 25 minutes. So that's easy to pump yourself up, get ready to go and go to work. Great question, Yvonne.
Appreciate that, Shaun. I'm kind of getting a sense here that everybody on my team is going to go out and get a $30,000 guy or gal to make all these phone calls. But let me ask you a question, because you're earning all the money by doing it yourself. How many contacts a day do you call? Do you call just around, or do you just call your past client sphere now?
I don't call any just listed calls. I just call Peggy calls FSBOs, past clients and sphere of influence. I call expired for sale. Expired sphere of influence and past clients. Our goal, Peggy and my goal this year is to make 20 contacts a day each. To make 20 contacts a day, that's 100 a week for each of us. And now, as I was trying to say, and I think I went in a different tangent. As of Monday, the other 3 people that work for me are all committed to make 5 contacts a day. And so they've never done calls, but they're going to call past clients. They're going to call sphere of influence. My group works a little bit differently. I don't bring business in and have agents and give them the business and they pay me some percentage. Everybody, we all work as one group and one team. So you know, one of my transaction coordinator, you know, she makes 6% of what I bring in of anything. It doesn't matter if it's a listing, the whole soup, the whole pie. My listing coordinator makes 7% of what I bring in. And besides us being not being there when I left for Costa Rica, besides those years, I hired back. I started by hiring my first 2 hires when I got back were the 2 girls that worked for me prior to that. So they came back to me. So, I mean, you know, and it's great. I mean, look, their assistants, they couldn't do this on their own. They were never going to do the Mike Ferry system. And New Orleans, again, is a kind of a nickel and dime town. I mean, these gals are going to make, you know, somewhere around $100,000 this year, and they're loving life. I mean, that's a lot of money in New Orleans. That's a good solid income in New Orleans.
Good stuff. Great stuff. I want to wrap it up for you.
I've got time for one more question if anybody's
one
got
more question. Right. Exactly. One more question out there.
I want to understand what Shaun is saying. So the crew that you have is making 6% of how much you make. I was calculating the 1.3 million at 6%. That's
right.
About 78,000. So are you saying that there's no salary, just having percentage, or is it salary plus the percentage?
There's no salary. There's no salary.
So you really technically don't have any expense.
I don't have any expense. My expense is it's funny. I have very little expense. I don't advertise. It's all, you know, this year that 6% equates to a little over $100,000, by the way. And they know, everybody that's with me, the 2 that were with me before, basically they've been with me for 22 years, except I was gone and they went and did other things, not even in the real estate business. When I came back and I got my foot on, I got about 4 or 5 months into it. My wife had her license. I brought them back in, and they knew I was back, and they also knew that we would immediately start producing. So they signed back on, you know, and I told them back then, I said, I'm going to get to all the $100,000 a year. And by gosh, we're getting them to them this year. And next year, it's going to be even more.
Great story. Thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
job. All right, everybody unmute yourselves. Please unmute yourselves. Let's give Shaun a big hand. Woo! All right.
Thank you all.
Thank
It
you.
was great. Hey guys, good luck. Keep positive and go and sell. It's an awful lot of fun to grow something.
Thank you. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.